In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on December 21st, 2023 by sending written notice and electronic notice to the Courier News, the Breeze, and posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building and filing with the township clerk. If I could have a roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Here.
Councilman Cordilla?
Here.
Councilman Nogales?
Here.
Councilman Pedroso? President Ring.
Here. And I believe Councilman Pedroso just walked in. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. We do not have any minutes for approval tonight. We'll get carried to a future meeting. Next up would be the Township Council reports. Before we start that, just a couple housekeeping things at the beginning of the year. This governing body is governed not only by the laws in New Jersey, and we have our attorney always here to help keep us in line. We have bylaws which govern this meeting, our meetings, which also call for the use of Robert's rules. As a side note, I have distributed the bylaws to the council for some updates and feedback. So hopefully in the next month or two, we will be looking at that and voting on. But with that, I will start with council reports, and we'll start with Councilman Kirsch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Only a few brief items tonight on land use matters. Both our zoning board and our planning board had their reorganization meetings postponed due to weather. On Saturday evening, I had the opportunity to attend the Martinsville Rescue Squad annual dinner and officer installation. I'm sure others will provide additional commentary. And then finally, I wanted to just acknowledge that at our reorganization meeting, the way it was originally written up, we were to have 2 bites at the apple with speeches. I was not able to make a few comments, which I want to summarize here, really expressing appreciation, particularly to our staff, for all the hard work that they've done. Serving the last year of my first term as council's president was truly an honor and a privilege. The work that we do here is highly collaborative, and I want to particularly acknowledge those who sit on this dais with us at each meeting, along with their staffs. They are integral parts of our collective success. So, of course, that's our administrator, Michael Pappas, our attorney, Christopher Corsini, and our clerk, Grace Jaguna. Of course, any mention of the clerk's office must note the outstanding contributions during a 20-year tenure of Grace's predecessor, Linda Doyle. Our clerk's office team, which we firmly believe is the best in Somerset County, if not all of New Jersey, includes Juliana Coelho and Allie Gust. To Grace, Juliana, and Allie, thank you for everything you've done and continue to do for our residents. Always with a smile, your hard work enabling council operations to run so smoothly is especially appreciated. I will certainly fondly recall the council presidency for deepened relations with each of my colleagues, each of you, Howard, Alan, Philippe, and Tim. Through countless individual conversations, I was able to learn more about the particular and unique points of view each of you bring to council, helping to make me more effective. And with the gavel now sitting beside Council President Ring, our leadership cycle has come full circle, and I'm confident that 2024 will be yet another year of advancement for this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Cordilla.
At this time, I'd just like to report that I attended the Martinsville Rescue Squad dinner, and I had the privilege of issuing the oath of office to the members of Martinsville Rescue Squad and thanking them for the service that not only the members, but their family members, with their support for all they do for the Township of Bridgewater.
Councilman Nogales.
Thank you. Bridgewater residents have received their tax collection notice, which resulted from the voter approval of the Board of Education plan for full-day kindergarten. Please note that although this is remitted to the township tax collector agent, it is not a municipal government tax, it is a Board of Education issue. Unfortunately, and I believe, Mr. Pappas, I'm correct in saying we cover the mailing costs as well as the uncollectible piece? Yeah. For those of you who follow astronomical issues, in a few weeks, on Monday, April 8th, there will be a total eclipse of the sun. Folks are reminded to not look at the sun without using protective devices. Very important. But more about that as we get closer to it. Attended the reorganization meeting of the all-volunteer Martinsville Rescue Squad. This is a wonderful organization which has been serving our township for well over 60 years. Fred Mensch, the mayor's father, was recognized for 45 years of service. Visited the swearing-in ceremony for the North Branch Volunteer Fire Company. Although based in our neighboring township of Branchburg, North Branch has been the primary Bridgewater fire responder for our northwest section of town since 1927. This is Radar Awareness Month, and residents are encouraged to periodically test for this cancer-causing radioactive gas seeping into homes and businesses. I know in past years we've made radon tests available based on grant. Will we still be doing that? Okay, that's good news. Residents, especially senior citizens, are warned to be very careful about internet scams, requests for personal information, and offers that seem too good to be true are almost always bad people trying to steal your money and your information. That is my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Pedroso.
Thank you, sir, and good evening. Good evening, members of our audience. Nice to see you. I attended some of the functions that were mentioned here tonight, but I'm going to use my time to basically, I had a short statement that I was going to read at the reorg meeting. Having been on the council now for 12 years, it was the first reorg meeting that the council didn't have an opportunity in general to say any kind of statement. So I had a very short statement. I'm going to read it tonight and make it part of the record. Reflecting on the past year, I've had the privilege of working closely with our 2023 Council President, Michael Kirsch. While our perspectives didn't always align, I must commend Council President Kirsch for his unwavering professionalism and courtesy. He consistently kept me informed about council activities, took the time to consider my opinions, even if he did not always adopt them, and demonstrated a genuine commitment to serving the residents of Bridgewater. His tireless work ethic and dedication to our community improvement are truly commendable. Congratulations on your well-deserved reelection and swearing in. I was going to say tonight, but a couple weeks ago. I look forward to continuing our collaboration on this governing body in the upcoming year. As we welcome Council President Ring 2 weeks ago to lead this governing body, I am confident in his readiness for his responsibilities ahead. I look forward to a productive partnership in the upcoming year. Congratulations, Council President Ring, on your reelection. Bridgewater is fortunate to have your insightful leadership. To Mayor Mensch, I express my sincere gratitude for maintaining an open-door policy and providing transparent insight into all government functions throughout your tenure. Over the past 4 years, we have achieved much under your leadership. You've steered Bridgewater through challenging times, upheld your campaign promises, and fostered a spirit of cooperation and unity within your team. Congratulations on your reelection, and I eagerly anticipate the remarkable accomplishments we will achieve together for the Bridgewater community in the upcoming year.
Thank you, sir. Just have a couple things. I did send notes to the clerk's office, but I just wanted to publicly thank them for all of their efforts in the reorg. I will tell you, as the incoming council president and trying to help make sure we're in a good position for our reorg, it's a very different perspective than being a council member and on the outside looking in. So it was, I learned some few things through the process, but I would like to commend our clerk's office for an outstanding job. I unfortunately could not attend the Martinsville Squad dinner as I was out of town on a family commitment, but I did have the pleasure yesterday and today of being interviewed by two young Bridgewater Township residents. One is a scout with Troop 84 in Somerville, and one is a scout with my alma mater, Troop 46 in Martinsville. Both men needed to interview someone about an issue they felt was important to the community. So yesterday we spent some time discussing spotted lanternflies, and today I spent some time discussing the Township Council's involvement in our roads in Bridgewater. So I look forward to seeing these two young men advance and hopefully someday become an Eagle Scout. That is my report. Mr. Pappas, anything from the mayor?
Thank you. Just a couple of comments about the storms that we've had and the one that's upcoming. Our Public Works Department has, I think, done a great job in being responsive to any questions or concerns from residents. They are prepared. I know they had a meeting earlier today to line things up and prepare people, and hopefully the storm will not be too impactful. That's all that I have for now.
Thank you. Question for you, and I don't know if you know the answer. How many inches of snow before we can actually plow versus salt? Okay.
Put the salt down first, which we will tonight.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we had that one storm where it was questionable as to how much we were getting. We were supposed to get more. We didn't. But basically, we need at least 2 inches in order for it to be plowable. Okay. Thank you.
We experimented a lot with it last year, and we would like to take it to the next level by the next season.
You know, on that topic, just kind of curious, if we plowed the streets with not, I guess, enough snow, whatever that number happens to be, does it ruin the roads in any way? Does plowing remove the top layer or help or take away or somehow reduce the lifespan?
You have a steel blade, which we do, running across the road. It does smooth it out, which means it's going to pop pieces of aggregate out here and there.
We use all steel blades.
We have a mixture, but we do. To be effective and to really
Yeah.
look at Yes, the majority of our trucks do have steel blades now.
Rubber is not as rough on the road, but it's not as effective clearing the road.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I can tell you the county is all steel.
Anyone have anything else?
So do we make an effort to only plow when there's a certain amount of snow on the road?
Absolutely.
That number is 2 inches, is that the number?
Yeah, just picture the little bit of coating. It's not going to do anything if you only have an inch of snow down there.
So the number is 2 inches, so I understand, thanks.
Okay. If there's nothing further, next up on our discussion here, since we started talking about the impact of blades on roads, is a 2024 road program presentation by Mr. Genova and Mr. Burr. Mr. Pappas, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you. As the council knows, there has been the practice to go through a rather extensive analysis of road conditions for the last several years. 2024 would be the next year, the third year in this program. This past year, we saw great success for a variety of reasons because of the earlier start that we were able to have, and certainly we appreciate the council's support in that regard. And the efforts that Mr. Genova and Mr. Burr will share now will help you appreciate both the success that we've had as well as the proposal for this year. So, Mr. Genova.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. Good evening. We're here tonight again to discuss year 4 of the 5-year Capital Road project. Bill Burr and I were here on October the 5th and December the 7th to give updates and a summary of the roads completed in the 2023 Capital Road project. To date, we have repaved 200 roads which amounts to 30% of the township-owned roads. This project is an exceptional success. Any project of this size requires countless hours of planning, organizing, budgeting, and directing. In order to continue this success, it is imperative that we follow the same plan as previous years, where we are able to start very early in the calendar year. This will allow for the best pricing on the project and will also ensure that the project will be completed prior to late fall when the temperature drops and it is not optimal for asphalt construction. Of course, the first step is financing the project. In 2022, the bond ordinance was introduced by the council on February the 7th. In 2023, the bond ordinance was introduced on February the 2nd. Tonight, we will describe the 2024 project scope. And at this time, I would like to hand off to Bill Burr, the township engineer, who will give a summary of the 2024 project.
Thanks, Tom. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. I think what I want to start, if you don't mind, Tom, is let's pull up the first sheet. So we were here, as Tom mentioned, back in October, as well as December, to give everybody an update on the 23 plan. We also had indicated in December that work was already started on crafting our 2024 recommendations. So we've been at this for several months at this point. As you've heard, we're entering year 4 of a 5-year plan. The first 3 years have been funded at $8 million per year. And the plan that we're going to go over now honors that same budgetary limits. So the roads you see, we feel very confident can be rebuilt or built within that $8 million threshold, assuming we stay with the pattern of the last 3 years. So as you've heard, the first 3 years improved right around 200 roads. If you include 2,000, we're over 200 roads, and I think you're going to see a pretty informative map in front of you, and I think on the TV screens behind us. And what that map shows is obviously the township as a whole. It shows our 6 regions, and we've discussed in the past on numerous occasions the regional approach, the neighborhood approach that we've utilized to craft our annual road program. So you can see the 6 regions that have been outlined. And what we did was we highlighted in the color green all of the roads since 2020 through last year, 2023, that have been rebuilt utilizing this concept. So that's what's shown in green. I didn't count the roads, but I bet you in green, because we included 2020, which was really our first test year prior to the first $8 million, you probably have every bit of 220 roads at least shown on this map. In the red are the 42 roads that we're proposing to rebuild this year. And as we make our way through the slideshow, we're going to do a closer view, a look in at each region and the roads that are proposed in those regions. So the approach that we utilize in crafting the plan this year is very similar to what we've done in past years. We've talked about the road rankings that we have, the robotics system that we've utilized twice now in the past to give us rankings of the condition of our existing roads. That's still a heavily utilized tool for us as we go through all of our road candidates. So we used our road rankings. We took a look, honoring that neighborhood approach. We took a look to see how many of the roads in one particular region or neighborhood were in close enough proximity to really give us the best bang for our buck, which is what we've done in the past. Great time savings, but more importantly, monetarily, money savings in both our engineering and our construction. So we look to try to package together as many roads that are nearby as possible. OCR, engineering, Public Works Department, all keep rather robust databases. Anytime a member of the public and constituent calls in with a question, concern, complaint on a condition, on a particular road, we track that. When we craft this plan annually, we take a look at those spreadsheets to see if there's a recurring theme of complaints or issues that have come through on a particular road, and we look at that as we're reviewing the candidates. And then really the last piece of it is we get out on the ground and we do site visits. It's fine to look at the rankings, it's fine to look at our databases, but if you're not in the field looking at the roads, you can miss things. So all those things together really have helped us come up with, the proposal that we have here today. And again, with the regional approach, I think it's been proven, certainly over the last 3 years, I think it's been a great success, both in terms of saving us time on the engineering, getting the projects out to bid earlier in the season so the road improvements can get constructed before the winter season. And frankly, the coupling of the roads have allowed us to get better bid prices and more contractor interest, I feel, in the projects. So let's dig in. Unless there's any questions, I'm going to move right into first slide.
Just one quick question.
Fire away.
I know you mentioned the road rankings, the robotics. Somebody's looking at what's being presented tonight versus the road rankings. You want to touch on the PSE and G factor?
So I think I would say, Councilman, there's three components to what we're going to talk about, not only tonight, but also as we move through the balance of 2024. We have the roads that we're presenting to be part of our road program. We also would like to undertake a pavement preservation program this year as well.
Okay.
We did that last at the end of 2021. The last 2 years, we have not done pavement preservation consciously because we've wanted to really leverage the money to get as many of, and on the road rankings, if you remember when we talk about the red roads, the orange roads, those are the real bad roads.
Yep.
Those are the ones we want to get improved.
Yep.
We're to the point now where we really don't have that many left. So we're starting to focus our efforts. We still have some that we need to reconstruct, but we're starting to refocus our efforts, and we want to kickstart that pavement preservation this year, certainly into next year. The third component is PSE&G. PSE&G, I think you've heard us speak about it in the past. They've come to the township probably in the last 18 months or so. We've been working with them on a plan to replace gas mains on about 21 or 22 miles worth of our roadway. So about 10% of our roadway mileage is currently being impacted one way or another by this gas main replacement plan. We are currently engaged with the gas company to finalize a plan to resurface a number of additional roads from curb to curb that they have installed gas mains on.
At their
Right.
cost?
At their cost. Right now, we have preliminarily a list of 12 to 15 additional roads that they would do full repaving on. We're reviewing it internally, and I expect in the near future, I hate to say it, but you may be seeing us again to talk about that list in more detail once it's finalized. But the overall project is progressing. It's been a little bit slower, I think, than anybody was hoping for. I know there's been a lot of inconveniences with the detours. We're doing our best to manage it, and we're getting close to having a bulk of that project done.
Could I ask you a question on that
Yes.
topic, if I may?
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
When it comes to the detours, some residents have reached out to me, maybe to other council members, about the frustration they have and not really knowing in advance. Is there a way for us as a governing body or the administration to post on the website, even if it's just in the morning of, when something is happening, where residents can make a detour? So, these detours pop up Kids are going to school, kids are showing up late, parents are driving, having a hard time getting their kids to school. People going to work, right? And if they just had a little bit of a heads up, even like a couple hours, I mean, anything would be better than nothing. Is there any possibility that can be done?
We have been holding bi-weekly conference calls, sometimes in person with the gas company. We actually had a call with them today. We had a call with them last week. And that very topic is one that we stressed to them that there needs to be improvement. They've committed to giving us on a weekly basis, every Friday, an explicit list of what roads and what areas they're going to work on for the following week, and specifically what roads will need to be detoured or have traffic impacted. The school, I will say, is involved in those conversations. So the school coordinator, the bus coordinator or transportation coordinator is involved in those discussions as well. But they will be doing that moving forward, and we will be posting that information through OCR for the public to see.
How soon can we expect that to start?
I think you can expect it to start no later than the beginning of next week.
And where can residents get information? I know that there's some members of the media here. Where can residents get information going forward as to road closures? Where exactly can they go?
Well, two places I would recommend. First is PSE&G themselves has a 1-800 number that we can post.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very
Understood.
practical.
They can also go to OCR, and we work on a daily basis with OCR on engineering projects as well.
OCR is the Office of Constituent Relations. Now,
Yes.
exactly where can they go for OCR? Is there a site is there a website location where the residents can go to get that information on the morning of that they have to drive?
Well, I think what we envision is as updates become available, those updates would be posted to the township's website.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Could we possibly maybe have a conversation with the police department and taking that list on a Friday and sharing it with them so that they know ahead of time? I don't know if there's the ability to pre-schedule, if you will, a Nixle alert, but I think sending out at 7 o'clock in the morning, these 3 streets are closed today, is a lot more effective than someone having to check the OCR website.
Right. Fair enough.
And I don't know if that technology exists to pre-schedule them or if, how that would work, but if we could make, I think to the degree we can make it work through a Nixle notification proactively as opposed to reacting to a resident, I think it would be beneficial.
That's a great idea, Council President. And also, I think on the homepage, there probably should be a clear link that takes the residents right to whatever other page inside is going to have that information. So,
And how to sign up for a Nixle.
exactly, that too, sure.
And the reality is the more residents we get on Nixle for stuff like this, it also helps us during state of emergencies and other things like that. It's just another tool to communicate.
Well, we have had PD involved with those calls as well. There are police on the job every time there's a detour or traffic interruption. So they are aware of the project, and I suspect they'd be happy to sit down and talk about it. So, perfect.
The chief just gave you a thumbs up, so.
Oh. Good deal. Okay. Any other questions on PSE&G for now, or are we? So let's dig right into the regions. And I'm just gonna quickly go through each region. If anybody has any questions, interrupt. But what you're looking at right now is what we're calling Region 1, and this is the southeast.
Well, you know what, I'm sorry. Is the public viewing this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, it should be, if anybody's watching it online, and then the folks.
Scott's give a thumbs up confirming.
Thumbs up. Perfect.
All right.
So this is the southeast portion of town, south of Route 22. And what you see in the green are all the neighborhoods over the last several years that we've completed roadway improvements. And you can see, in this tightly knit area, the neighborhood approach that we've implemented. So what we're proposing this year is to jump to the northern or the upper portion of that area, just above Union Ave. And we'd like to improve the 2 neighborhoods, Jamestown, and then the neighborhood right next to that. So those 4 roads would be included in Region 1. And I think what I want to do is just, as we go through here, the red roads are, and I mentioned 42 of them we've identified. Those are what I would call our base bid roads. Those are the roads that we are recommending for improvement, that we've fully costed out, and we feel confident at that $8 million threshold and below, we can get those improved. What we've done in years past is we've also identified a number of other roads that we include as alternate bid items. There are additional roads that aren't shown on this sheet. We have about a dozen selected preliminarily that we will share, but we also would like to do some additional alternate roads. The only problem with the alternate bid items is until you see how the pricing is coming in from the contractors, there's no guarantee that we're gonna be able to do those roads. So it's difficult to advertise them because there's no guarantee we're gonna be able to get them done. But there are some additional roads throughout the whole town that I think fit really nicely with the red roads that we're gonna talk about. We're just not quite there yet with the alternates. But the red roads that we're going through, those are the ones that, with your approval, we're committed to move forward with. So any questions on Area 1? That's the neighborhood or the 2 neighborhoods that we'd like to improve this year. So heading over to Region 2, which is on the southwest portion of town, down Old York Road and the Milltown area. This is a unique area because it's kind of split into 2 separate, a northerly and a southerly area. And you can see the red road, or the green roads down along Old York Road. There's a lot of long north-south roads, and then we did a big neighborhood, the Hancock Ave neighborhood last summer. What we're proposing is to head a little bit north and build upon the work that we did last year. So Roanoke Ave, Berwick Ave, jumping over to the west side of Milltown Road. There's a couple of neighborhood roads there that the roads are really in bad shape. So we're proposing to kind of improve that cluster of 5 roads right in the middle of the section. Nothing right now by way of mill and overlay or road reconstruction is proposed on the northerly section. You can see in green, we did do some roads last year up in that northerly section. That has been an area that has been the focus of some pavement preservation in the past. I suspect we may want to take a look at that neighborhood or those neighborhoods again this year in some way, shape, or form to see if there's any opportunity there. But that area towards the upper portion of the screen is one that we want to continue to target moving forward.
Father of one of the scouts that I spoke to yesterday actually said, after it was all said and done, spoke highly of the preservation piece and how it worked. I think it's one there's a little, the first couple days are a little adjustment period, if you will, but spoke highly of it, so was appreciative. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, Mr. President, I just wanted to bring the full council and the public, others who are listening, into some of the conversation that I've had with Bill on I guess, maybe you call it upper 2, just because that's the way it's shown on the screen. And, a lot of those roads were built at the same time. They're now at a point where they're kind of between, do they need to be considered for repaving maybe within a year or 2? Do they need to, are they better for the overlay, the pavement preservation? And I think that neighborhood is good, let's do both. Some of the streets may get a pavement preservation, and that will likely not require additional attention then, buying us maybe another 4, 5, 6 years at a low cost. And some of those streets, some of those areas, just by being patient for another year or so, could be really good candidates for resurfacing. Nothing in that area, is in the category of needing to be rebuilt, thankfully. And I think that this neighborhood is potentially a goal for what the future of our program will look like, where we're toggling between pavement preservation and repaving, and hopefully we never reach the point again where we have the particularly expensive, full-blown reconstruction necessary. So, obviously all of our neighborhoods, many of our neighborhoods were built at different times, have different needs. But I just wanted to bring everyone into the mix on our conversation, because while it's most relevant here, I think it's illustrative of what we will see over time across a wider stretch of town.
Agreed, and I think it's a really good point, because if moving forward, our biggest issue is trying to decide which roads are going to be preserved versus a simple mill and overlay, then that's a good problem to have on our hands, and I think it's one that would show the success of the investment that we've put in. When we first started looking at this 3-4 years ago, we were grappling with what roads to fully reconstruct or really improve drainage on. Little by little, our focus is moving away from the full reconstruction into more of the mill and overlay, pavement preservation. That's where we want to be. So.
And just one other thing that we've discussed, just want to make sure that you can state it for the full audience. The pavement preservation is great. It buys us a few years. It's very, very cost effective. But, that can only happen so many times on a road. Eventually a road, will need to be repaved. So I know that neighborhood has also seen some pavement preservation. It's not necessarily shown here, but I can remember seeing it out my own window and experiencing it. I remember a day with you, Tom. It was about 105 degrees out on or near a Terrace Lane. It's important that I think not only do we have a good program, but we learn from it in other regions as well.
And it's a process that I do really feel is an effective one, definitely cost effective, but it also, it brings value, it extends the life of your roadways, but it's only effective if it's being used on the right type of road. And then from there, it's all about the messaging and making sure folks understand what the purpose of that application is. It's not to replicate a full roadway that's just been freshly repaved. It's to preserve what's there and extend the useful life of that road. So it's not going to have the same texture or consistency, but what it will do, or what it should do, is fill in the cracks, fill in any of the voids in the existing pavement surface that are going to really lead to further deterioration if they're not filled in. So I suspect we're going to be talking about that moving forward in more detail as well. But
Just real quick for any of the public, either here or listening, just so they fully understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. When we talk about milling and paving, that is simply a process to take the top layer of blacktop away, chop it up, and put down a fresh, smooth layer of blacktop. In some cases, the robotics and site visits and engineering suggest that that road needs to be fully dug up, in some cases the dirt underneath, redone. It's like having a solid foundation on your house. You need a solid foundation under the road. So some of these roads are simply milling and paving, others require more extensive reconstruction. So when you talk about the two different things, just so the public understands the difference. So, thank you.
I guess the term drainage comes in then, where you have a specific spot where no matter how many times you overlay it, it's still going to fall apart because you have to do something underneath.
correct.
And that becomes expensive.
Yes, agreed. Okay. Jumping up to Area 3. Again, Area 3, Area 4, as we get into 3, 4, and 5 in the northerly portion of town, they become much bigger areas. They're more spread out, the lots are larger, but you can still see, even in an area like 3, with all the green, a lot of the work that's been done is honoring that neighborhood approach, and we've really taken care of a lot of neighborhoods through that area. Some of which the work has been funded with grants from the state, mainly because we have a number of schools in that area. But A lot of work has been done over the last several years in Area 3, and we want to continue that moving forward. So this year, we want to get the Rolling Hills neighborhood done, which is right near the intersection of Country Club and Garrettson. And then we want to move a little bit northerly and continue in the upper section of the area. We want to continue building upon areas that we completed last year. So Farmer Road, Steeplechase, Juniper Lane, they were all done last summer. This year, we'd like to do Candlewick. We'd like to do Love Road. It's really in bad shape. It's a road that leads into an adjacent municipality. We really hear from a lot of folks about Love. It ranks very highly on our rankings. So those are the roads that we want to tackle this year in Region 3.
Have we shared with Bedminster our plans for Love Road?
For this, not yet.
Will we ahead of time?
We absolutely will.
So that if they want to do something on their side?
Absolutely will. Yep. All right, moving over to Area 4, which is the most northerly portion of the town. It includes Sunset Lake and then works its way down along Washington Valley. This one, again, vast area. You could see in the green a lot of the neighborhoods that we've already improved. We want to try to continue with that, although I'll admit the roads that we're showing in red this year are a little bit more spread out, although we're doing multiple roads in each of those spread out areas. So the most northerly area, we want to get a couple more roads rebuilt in the Sunset Lake neighborhood. We've done just about all the roads on the southerly side. We want to move up to the northerly side, closer to Washington Valley, and start working our way up there. Moving down to the bottom right of the list, we want to take care of Long Road this year. Long Road is a roadway off of Washington Valley that leads into Bernards Township. Again, we get pinged all the time on Love Road. There's some drainage issues. Pavement's not in great shape, and it's really a heavily utilized road, so we want to improve Long. There's a cluster of roads, Plymouth, Jeffrey, Ryan, right near the Crim School. We got a grant to improve those roads in November. We were just notified, so we'd like to take care of that neighborhood as part of this plan. And then heading to the left on your screen, we propose to improve the outer loop of the Starview Stella neighborhood for a couple of reasons. Stella's been on our radar, actually Starview has been on our radar for a number of years for improvement. That is a neighborhood that has had gas main recently completed on. We think in concert or in combination with the fact that the roads, some of the roads are already in poor condition, with the work that the gas company did, we want to start resurfacing those roads as well. So we want to do the outer loop there. Heading over to Area 5, this is kind of I guess the central northerly portion of town. You have Washington Valley Road on the upper right-hand side, and it stretches all the way down almost to where we're at right here. The cluster of roads in green on the left side of the screen is right here off of Woodland Ave. We did a lot of those roads last year, actually last fall. There's a little bit of work that remains. I would call it punch list work. All the repaving work has been done, but there's a little bit of punch list work that we're going to clean up in the springtime. The long up and down road on the left-hand side in red is Somerset Ave. That's the last road really in that neighborhood that wasn't done this past year, so we want to pick that road off as part of this. And then heading to the right on the screen, we really want to continue to tackling some of the roads along that foothill road corridor. So we've identified Birch Hill and Bittersweet Terrace. Those are both roads that rank very highly. In fact, I think Birch Hill is one of our only remaining red roads. I think we have one other red road on the list that we're going to try to get taken care of next year.
The young scout that interviewed me this afternoon to talk about roads lives on Bittersweet and was very concerned
right?
at 17 years old about the condition of the roads.
Well,
So
if this
I told him he should watch tonight,
gets
that we were going to
approved,
be
you
doing
can
this
give him the good news.
presentation. So Ryan, if you're watching, Bittersweet is proposed.
That's funny.
And Ryan may have a job when he graduates.
Okay.
Right.
Bridgewater.
And then in the center of the screen, we have the Lawton neighborhoods off of North Bridge. They're roads that they're not in great shape on our rankings. Certainly, there are longstanding drainage issues, and that's really the importance when we talk about doing the site visits on these roads. That's really where that becomes important, because the roadbotics, the road rankings, that's telling us just the pavement condition, what that road looks like.
Doesn't tell you what
Talking
caused
about
it.
curbing, it doesn't talk about sidewalk conditions, it doesn't tell us if there's drainage problems. That's why we gotta get out there and look at these in person. Lawton's a perfect example. Ditches, half of them are filled in, half of them have crushed driveway pipes. The gas company was out there doing some work, which has not made things any better. And based on the rankings, we think all these roads are good candidates to be improved this year. Last but not least, Area 6, the northeasterly portion of town. Tremendous amount of work you can see in the lower portion in green along that Route 22 corridor by Vossler Ave. Really improved a lot of the roads in that area. We last year started making our way northerly towards Washington Valley. We want to focus on continuing that effort this year. So last year we did Eastbrook, I think April, Mayflower is the last road. We want to continue. We want to do, I know it's Perrine, Weaver, Biddle, Davis, that cluster of roads take us right out to Washington Valley, and that entire neighborhood is then complete. And then we want to jump to the bottom and really finish off the bottom portion of that region along Vossler, on either side of Vossler. We have the Glen Road neighborhood. That was on our list last year as an alternate. Because of the bid pricing at the time, we weren't able to afford doing the work last year. So we want to honor it in this year's plan as a base bid item. There's curbing issues, there's drainage issues. PSE&G has come through and done some work on the road as well. So we want to take care of those roads. The neighborhood across, which is Shady Lane and Deerhead, if you take a look at the rankings, you will see that numerically they don't rank very high. That's because we came in 2021 and we did do some pavement preservation in that neighborhood, which I think was a good application at the time. It was very cost effective. That was 4 years ago. Unfortunately, the gas company has come back in now, damaged the road to put the gas mains in. They are responsible for milling and repaving the entirety of those roads. So that work, the Shady Lane, Deerhead, that easterly side of Vossler, that work will be done by the gas company. We would like to, before they do the paving, we'd like to go in and do some repairs to the damaged curbing, fix people's driveways, and then allow the gas company to resurface the roads. So that's why those two neighborhoods are shown at the bottom of the screen. So put it all together, like I mentioned, I think we have 42 roads shown on these slides, the potential for about a dozen more. And then when you talk, when it's finalized and we're back to talk about PSE&G, we could see anywhere from 12 to 15 more roads on top of these getting paved by the gas company.
In the roads that we are proposing, the 42 roads,
Yes.
I'm assuming we have confirmed with PSE&G that they have no intention of digging those roads up in the next couple of years.
Not currently. They
Okay.
do not have any plans, correct.
But if they do, based upon our updated ordinance, if we repave one of these roads this year, and PSE&G decides in 2 years they're going to dig it up for gas piping, based upon our updated ordinance from a couple of years ago, they will be responsible for repaving that road curb to curb from one end to the other, even if they only dig up a 6-foot section in the middle of the road.
They will be, our ordinance includes a 7-year moratorium. So if they touch that road anytime within that 7-year period, if they get approval to touch that
The
road.
road, yes, but
The approval comes from the township,
yeah, but if they have to do an emergency repair, it's hard to say no.
not an
But
emergency.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, we're asking them to tell us where all these gas leaks are, not to just say, hey, we'd like to replace that line.
Yeah.
We want to have the incidents to prove them out. We're not going to give them carte blanche.
Understood.
Man.
I just, for the public's benefit, there's a coordination here with PSE&G, and if they change their plans, they're responsible for redoing the entire road.
I agree.
Thank you.
Do we know what their metric is as to how old the pipe has to be or what type of pipe before they undertake it? If they get one?
They want to replace all of the old steel pipes because they do have a tendency to rot out. And
They-
if
they
they're
ha-
putting in is plastic. Oh, that
We're
could be.
talking the 50s,
Yeah.
60s, old pipe.
But aren't they, they're mandated by the state to replace it all by 2037.
Yes.
Even though the governor has announced that he wants to eliminate gas stoves and gas heat and stuff by 2035, the Board of Public Utilities is mandating PSE&G replace all the old gas piping by 2037.
Only in Jersey.
So,
I have not converted my fireplace to gas, and I'm very happy.
And in these temperatures, don't have an electric car.
Oh, I had a Uber the other day in Philadelphia, and it was a Tesla. And it was cold as could be, and he had this little space heater on the dashboard. I said, "Oh, is your heat broken?" He said, "No." He says, "If I run it, the car will be dead in a couple hours. The heat draws too much off the batteries." That's what the Uber driver told me. So, anyway, sorry, are you?
no, I was just going to give you my closing statement.
Go ahead.
Unless there's any more questions. So just wanted to talk real quick, scheduling, just so everybody has a sense, hopefully, of where we're headed. And if we replicate our schedule from last year, what we'd like to do is the period from March through May, utilize that 2-month window for engineering design on all of the road work. May, possibly into early June, schedule for bidding of the projects, award the contracts in that May or June timeframe, such that construction can commence hopefully as soon as July, and all of our work, as Tom said, is done by Halloween, with any luck. That's the goal. We did have some work creep into November this year. We got almost all of our work done from 2023 finished last year, in large part, as you all know, due to the schedule or the manner in which that we got funding in place, which was hugely important for us. So my ask, or our ask tonight, is give us the green light on the roads that we presented, or let us know if you have any issues with them. Hopefully, you've all had a chance to review the list and you're in agreement with the 42 roads that we've presented.
On the other side of that is the bond. You had mentioned February. Is it your hope or expectation that sometime within the next 3 weeks, we'll have a bond ordinance before this comes?
That was going to be my third ask. So the first was approve the road list. The second was to authorize us to start seeking proposals for engineering, and this follows what we did last year. And then the third would be to contemplate introducing and adopting a bond ordinance in February, similar to last year, such that the funds are available by around the middle of March, which gets us in a position where we need to be to stick with that schedule. So tonight, I'd love for you to give us the green light on the roads.
So I just asked Mr. Corsini, because I don't remember us historically, I'll say, approving the road list. He said that is not something we would have to approve.
No, you can give conceptual feedback.
Okay,
A head nod.
yeah,
That's what we used to call it.
fine.
Yeah, and you have votes in the future that will.
Yes. And-
Bonding votes on the individual projects.
And just so that the rest of the council is aware, I've had some preliminary, as a member of the Budget Committee, I've had some preliminary conversation with my counterpart, Councilman Kirsch, as well as with the Township Administrator. Prior to us receiving any bond ordinance, the Budget Committee will be meeting with the administration just to confirm, as we did last year, we bond, we have a bill to pay. We want to confirm, the future budgeting for and making sure we can make those payments. Discussing, obviously, interest rates have changed, although I understand they've become a little more favorable over the last couple months. So the Budget Committee is going to have a meeting with the administration that we will look to report back at the next meeting, potentially before an ordinance would be presented or introduced. Is that a fair summary, Mr. Pappas?
Yes, sir. We are, would like to, and if with the council's consent, to at least begin that process. Mr. Pandos set a conference call that we had this morning with Mr. Genova, Mr. Burr, Mr. Drakowitz, and just talked about this to potentially be able to move forward at the next meeting to consider an introduction. So, yes, be happy to meet with the Finance Committee as soon as you're available.
Okay.
I have I guess I have a comment, maybe part question. When it comes to the road selections, I view that as being an administrative task, and I appreciate the administration coming forward and showing us the road plan and showing us the roads and getting our feedback. And again, I guess that kind of goes part of my comment during council statement about how I appreciate the mayor and the administration's transparency and coming forward to the governing body. So I appreciate that. However, end of the day, I view my role being one more financial and less one of deciding and nitpicking the roads. That task, really, I view falls, it's an administrative task, and in our form of government, it's the mayor's power to make those choices. So I'm not going to nitpick on that, but my main concern, which has been consistently over the last several years, has been in that this governing body, I anticipate in February, will be asked to approve a $10 million bond. It's an $8 million bond, without, I anticipate, having a budget. That to me is a concern. I believe that in order for us to fiscally responsibly manage the township budget and its finances, we have to know how much money we anticipate on making this year and what our expenses are going to be and how much we can afford, just like anybody does in their household or any business does for managing their finances. And to be asked to blindly agree and commit our taxpayer to pay back $8 million in bonding without knowing the state of the finances of the township for the coming year, I view that as inappropriate. And so I would ask the administration, I don't know how possible or not possible it is, but I would ask the administration to provide us a budget as quickly as possible, and before I'm asked to pass judgment whether or not the township should incur an $8 million bond for this project, for the projects proposed before us.
Mr. President, I think that you spoke to some of that a few moments ago, where we will begin a conversation as the Budget Committee, whether you want to call it a budget framework or whatever you want to call it. I think that we will have at least a general sense of where we are, where we expect to be. Throughout the year, even after we pass a budget, adjustments are made. But I think that, as has occurred in previous years, we will be asked to make the best decisions we can with the information we have at the time, with the idea that it is important to move quickly. Because if we wait until June or July or August to even start this process, including the engineering and then the bidding and the contract and the construction, none of this work will be feasible or viable in calendar year 23. So
24.
in 24. So while the points raised are good and accurate, and it is important to have as complete a picture, I think that the nature of this process, and we've now been through this will be the fourth time of 5 is, it's a bit of a dance with how complete the information is, and we continue to make the best decisions we can with the information we have and the information that we anticipate. I know certainly a good deal of it is anticipated revenue. A good deal of it is obviously management of expenses. I know one of the things that we've spoken about is our desire for a monthly report of the state of our expenditures. So we'll see how the process goes over the next couple of weeks. But I'm very satisfied with the way it happened in 2023, and hopeful that we can do something similar and reach similar success in '24.
Thank you. Anything else on roads? Or let me rephrase it. Anything else on the 2024 road program? Because we're going to talk about roads some more in a minute.
No, and as, I'm sorry, Mr. Nordgalis, go ahead. No, I was giving you thumbs up. Yeah. Well presented, thank you. Yeah, and as Mr. Genova and Mr. Burr said, if there are questions or any questions about roads that were or were not on the list, please let us know.
Thank you. So next up is another presentation now on the agenda. I know we're talking about weight limit restrictions. On the agenda, it has Mr. Burr.
Yep.
On the handout I have, I'm not sure if the chief's coming up or not.
Yeah, he's wearing a tie, so probably would be good for him to
Come on up, just in case you'll be
show
closer.
everybody his tie. So the council, we appreciate this will be a much more brief presentation, but I think probably would be appropriate for Mr. Burr and then maybe the chief to add some commentary. There are a number of roads that are on this list. There's also another road that's not on the list that actually has a weight limit that there are continuing to be concerns about speeding, and I'm hoping that that can be addressed as well. So I guess, Mr. Burr, maybe you could start, and then the chief could add his perspective on that other road.
So we were asked to take a look at, in engineering to take a look at a number of roads. I think in response to some new development applications that have come through the pipeline, particularly on 202, 206, as well as some concerns that have been raised by the public in terms of truck traffic, using certain roadways as a cut-through on our municipal roads. So we took a look at a number of roads, and first on a list is Long Road. That doesn't fit into the description I just gave you, but Long Road is one that we constantly get pinged on for having what I would characterize as inappropriate types of vehicles on that road. And I think as we take a look through some of the photos, don't mind the hood of my truck in the one picture, but Long Road, everybody's been on that road.
Chief, is that truck over the double yellow line?
Long Road is a narrow road. Horizontal and vertical geometry is such that it's really inappropriate for larger vehicles. The road was not built, frankly, to withstand the weight of the larger vehicles. So Long Road is the first road that we're recommending the town consider implementing a 4-ton weight limit on. Long Road, as you know, does connect to Bernards Township. We have had some preliminary discussions with Bernards to ensure that they also are in agreement with implementing the same type of restriction on their end. So far, the feedback has been favorable, but we're working through that process now. So Long Road is a first road that we're recommending.
If I may just add to that.
Please.
This is a road that I had surfaced based upon some residents' feedback, and their comment was they've been trying to get this done for years and have always been told can't be done because part of the road is in Bernards and part of it is in Bridgewater. I immediately called one of the councilwomen in Bernards and said, hey, what do you think? And this has progressed forward, and Bernards is fully on board. So it's a multi-town effort, Long
Yes.
Road.
So the next slide that you see before you is actually the cluster of roads that we're recommending along the 202, 206 corridor. And this is where a couple of new developments are going to come into play. There's one in particular across from Highland Avenue. There have been some concerns raised. So we took a look at all of the roads that could provide connectability from 202, 206 to Foothill Road or North Bridge, in the heart of the township. And you can see it on the map. You have Allen Road, you have Highland Avenue, Somerset Avenue, Hillside Avenue, White Street, Prospect Ave. And then we also included Crossroad. That's an interesting one because it's off of, it's off of the lower stretch there of, I guess, 202 is probably considered Downey. But we envisioned a scenario where you could have trucks missing a turn and trying to turn around in Crossroads. So we recommended that be looked at as well. Pretty dense multi-family development, but taking a look at the photos, carrying on the same theme that I mentioned about Long, you have roadways that have been built some time ago. Many of them are very narrow. They have curves in the road. You have trees very close to the edges of the road. And frankly, they haven't been built to withstand any heavy truck traffic beyond your typical school buses, garbage trucks, and delivery trucks. So just panning through some of the photos, you can kind of see the theme here. So that's kind of the short version. I think you've been provided with a memo from engineering with our recommendations, the maps, the photos. I think we provided a copy of the existing ordinance that lists the roadways in town that are currently under the weight restriction. There's another road that we have taken a look at, which is Adamsville Road, which is in a section of road that has a heavy cluster of industrial uses with truck traffic. Adamsville Road is currently under a weight restriction from Main Street up to Route 22. There's 3 signs in each direction on the northbound and southbound side. The one section of Adamsville that I think has been discussed in the past that's not under weight restriction is the South Adamsville stretch to the south side of Main Street. If you restrict that south piece of Adamsville, there would be no viable access to some of those businesses in the far rear end of the industrial complex. So Adamsville is currently on the weight restricted list. If you remember back in 2021, this body added Bellicone, Bridgewater Ave, and Evergrad. Trying to think if there were any others. Thomas as well to the list. So trying to prohibit truck traffic from the adjacent residential roads that parallel South Adamsville.
And just
If I may comment, as much as I absolutely agree with you, Bill, I have to state the Adamsville Road issue with the weight restriction has been a pain for years.
Agreed.
With talking to the various police chiefs over the years, and also the police chiefs in Somerville, the issue has always been, well, we can go out and enforce it. The minute we go out there, the trucks will, stay off the road and go down Findorn Avenue. But the minute we're gone, the word is out and the trucks are back. I would ask, probably a stronger term than ask, if we could put all the weight restrictions in the world that we want, but if there's no enforcement on the weight restrictions, we talked about Crossroads. Your concern is, well, if a truck makes a wrong turn, he's going to go through Crossroads. How long would it take him to do that? Maybe 3 minutes? It would be a stroke of a luck if there's a police officer handy around to witness it and issue a ticket. I don't know how that applies to all the other roads, but I've asked in the past, and I'm asking again, to eliminate the problem on Adamsville Road, we have the opportunity to go down Findorn Avenue, which is a truck route, If we can get the truck route expanded on Van Vechten to go into the South Adamsville Road area, which I understand includes a small parcel that is considered green acres with Somerset County, I'm asking, can we please get that done? Because I believe once that route is completed, that will take the trucks on a much easier route to the old Egan Machinery site, Plant 2 site, and get them off of Adamsville. You know, we're talking about putting a weight restriction on South Adamsville. Quite honestly, it's a great idea. However, there's no other way for the trucks to get in. You know, so we could put it on, but they're still going to use it. So I'm asking, could we please focus our energy on getting that cut through from Van Vechten complete, you know, get it going and see what needs to be done to do it. And then the other roads would be, you know, they become a second thought.
I think that we can definitely reignite the review of that particular issue. We started taking a look at it, Councilman, but through the course of the review, there's some environmental constraints. There's some hurdles that we
Bill,
have to overcome,
whatever it is,
have to look at.
the weight limit on Adamsville Road, if I stand corrected, that was done in the area maybe 50 years ago because there was a child hurt by a truck on Adamsville Road. Now, we talk about environmental issues and so on. Yes, they are important, but on any of these roads, give me a higher priority than a child on a road with a truck. There's none higher, in my opinion. So I would ask, with this project, I'll support it if there is a strong effort to get the issues with Van Vechten mitigated and get the road cut through. You know, honestly, I think if we had a bulldozer and just went through and did it, I wouldn't complain.
Mr. President, just a clarification. When you're talking about North Adamsville, between Union Avenue and Main, that's a border with Somerville, right? So in order to be truly effective, do we need to have a collaborative conversation with the governing body in Somerville?
Those weight restrictions already exist.
On their side?
I believe so.
Okay.
It's posted on both sides of that road.
I think that what Mr. Cordilla has suggested, I think we've looked at this 8 different ways. I think that is the solution, and we did start looking at it. Mr. Corsini's office began looking at deeds because there's a number of other property owners there. The county owns some property. There's potentially wetlands issues. Mr. Burr and Mr. Schimpf actually, at least on one occasion, went and physically walked the potential route. So this is something that does make a lot of sense. As you said, there's a lot of hurdles, but I think we do want to be much more aggressive in pursuing this and seeing what it would take for the township to see this occur.
I hope so.
And this may be a question for one of you, more so for the public's understanding. When we talk about a road like Long Road and putting a 4-ton restriction on it, someone that orders stuff from Home Depot for their personal use in their house, and Home Depot's coming to deliver it on the flatbed tractor trailer to a resident on Long Road. The local deliveries are still allowed. Is that correct, or are we?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. So when we talk about these restrictions, it's really on through traffic.
The chief is here, and I'm wondering if he could just add his commentary about the enforcement issue on Adamsville specifically.
For Adamsville Road, in year 2023, we had a total of 152 stops on that road. So we are there enforcing that road. Like Councilman Cordilla said, that's a very busy section of town. alone with, Findor Ave with the crashes, and then with the promenade. It's a very busy area of town. So to say that we can constantly be there to enforce that is impossible. But we are enforcing it. As like I said, the stats show that we are there. We've had 152 stops in 2023 alone. And we definitely have directed patrols there for these tractor trailers. We even went as long, tried speaking with Google to try to get the Google Maps to divert, so for the tractor trailers to say, it's a 4-ton restricted road. They haven't cooperated yet with us to try to make that change so they can know the truck route.
Any of those 150, do you know offhand any of those 152 repeat offenders?
I don't know that, no.
Maybe like a parking enforcement that happens in a lot of towns, we need a weight limit enforcement, pickup truck.
Just so I understand next steps, the thought process is at our next meeting, we would get a ordinance to introduce, to start the process to put these restrictions in place.
If I may.
Yeah.
The
Of course you may.
4-ton weight load, was that a derived thing? This is the ideal size truck not to have on it? Or could someone argue that 6-ton or 10-ton is acceptable, or no semis or something?
Or 4 is too much.
4-ton is what is currently regulated by ordinance. It's the limit that is. It's our accepted standard. It's a standard that's accepted by a lot of adjacent municipalities. Many other municipalities, 4-ton is that threshold, and that's kind of like the box truck size, that 8,000-pound UPS truck. Anything bigger than that is what we're looking to keep off the roads. As Council President said, it doesn't include the UPS trucks. It doesn't include the delivery vehicles, but any of the cut-through traffic.
Anyone else?
No, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up is a meeting open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there's unusual circumstances. We would ask anyone that wants to speak to come forward and please state their name and address. First, I need a motion to open to the public.
I'll make the motion to open our meeting to the public.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. The meeting is open to the public. Anyone is welcome to come forward. If you need to, if you can just adjust the microphone, you're speaking not only to those in the room, but we're also broadcasting this over the internet. I guess we have a sign-in sheet there. Okay, that works as well.
Hello, my name is Ishan Joshi. I am 14 and I go to Bridgewater Raritan High School. I would like to tell you about what happened on the night of December 20th, 2023. So our neighbor was away for the holidays and my family had all just come over as my grandmother was in the hospital and she eventually passed away the next day. My cousin and I were told to go to our neighbor's house to go water the plants because they were away. And we went there and the alarm system was still set up. And we went in to the house with the code to the front door, and we were told that it should have been off. It was just a mistake, but the police eventually ended up coming, and my neighbor, I had my neighbor on the phone while my cousin was still outside, and they told me that the police had just come outside and they were talking to my cousin who was still standing out there. As I looked out the window, I saw that my cousin was being yelled at. He was doing nothing wrong except for just standing, and we live right across the street on Buxton Road, and they live on Sunset Ridge, and he just wanted to come and see the view. It was a very beautiful street. And as I tried to slip on my sneakers, because I had the homeowner on the phone, as I tried to slip on the sneakers, I couldn't even go, like, put them on all the way before I was just completely shocked. My cousin was out there. I opened the door, and I hear him, Officer Holzel, yelling at my cousin for no reason. As I go up to the officer, I have the phone on speaker, and he grabs it out of my hand and puts it in his pocket. He aggressively spoke to us and interrogated us for no reason. And as a 14-year-old, I never thought I would have to experience this. And I never thought that I would have to experience racism towards myself or my cousins for that matter, at the age of 14. I was shocked. I was so worried that this officer was going to use some violent force and try and detain us for no obvious reason. He took my phone away and had the homeowner talk to him, or had the police, or the homeowner talk to the police, sorry. And they told him all of the information necessary, but the officer was still aggressive even after the phone was hung up. I was fortunate to be a cadet at the Somerset County Youth Police Academy in the summer, and they taught us that to always respect the police. And I was genuinely interested in law enforcement, but after that, I was completely disinterested. I was shocked and scared. The police officer, Officer Holzel, taught me something that day. He taught me that racism is real, and that was the first time I had ever been racially profiled by anyone. And I would like to thank him for teaching me that, but shame on him. Shame on him. Thank you.
Could I ask you a question? And thank you for sharing your story with us. You mentioned that, officer, you felt that there was some conduct occurred towards you that was racist. Did the officer use any racial slur towards you?
He didn't use any racial slurs, but there was obvious prejudice towards me.
Well, why don't you elaborate more on that? Why do you think that's the case?
I genuinely believe that had another person that was not the same skin tone as me, or my cousin who has a beard, had there been another person with a different skin tone, I do not believe that the officer wouldn't have acted the same way.
But was there, I appreciate you showing how you feel, but was there anything in particular that was said to you that you feel was racial or prejudicial in any way in the way that it was said?
No, but there was obvious aggressiveness to a 14-year-old for no apparent reason.
May I suggest that if you haven't already, that you speak to the chief who is here? First of all, let me back. My condolences on the passing of your grandmother. I'm sorry for what you've experienced, but as a governing body, this is not, your concerns are not one that this governing body legally can address. This should have a conversation with the police department who can look into your concerns further from an administrative side. So if you haven't already, I would suggest getting your contact information to the police department for them to investigate further.
Councilman Ring, maybe the young man already has. Have you spoken with Chief Mitzak or any?
I have not.
Okay, I think, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, my name is Ashish Joshi. I'm the father. So a couple of things, what you asked, Mr. Pedroso, and which Ishan didn't say, is that as he was exiting the house, there was an altercation between the cousin and the police officer. It's all on video, I've seen it. It's very uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable. And when you ask what racism was experienced, oh, believe me, there was racism. Absolutely 110%. I've seen the video. He was inside. So as he was exiting the house, things were happening outside.
Would you share that video with me? Could you
I'm
email
not
it to
going
me?
to share that. I'm not. Now,
You're not going to share the video with me?
I'm not going to share that because it's not mine, it's my neighbor's. Okay? That's not the point.
did you
And I'm not
ask-
here for any of
Well-
complaining. I could have done this a month ago, and as my son said, my mother passed over the next day. Now, there is a teaching moment here in that we had an obligation, we promised the neighbor, which we've done many, many times. We go over there, water the plants, everything's fine. Should he have gone there without me? Maybe not. I was at the hospital, and I wanted to teach him that you gave somebody a word that you're going to do this, you're going to do this. So go ahead and do this. Okay? To have the police officer come in aggressively was absolutely 110% inappropriate. And I strongly believe that, as my son said, had the cousin not had the appearance that he had, this would not have happened. Now, we've all seen the mall incident, okay? And I don't want to go there. This was similar in nature. Hang on. As Ishan said, he was in this police academy last summer, the whole week, loved it. One of the things that they taught them is you assess the situation, you go one step at a time. The word is de-escalate. There was no de-escalation going on during this time. In fact, I would say that if he hadn't come out when he did, I don't know what the next step would have been. Again, I've seen the video. All I'm saying is, and coincidentally today, is I just looked on the agenda and you're approving a contract for the chief. Congratulations, but I hope the chief teaches this, de-escalate. You don't have to go into every situation gangbusters. Now, to a 14-year-old, when he has the homeowner on the phone, to snatch the phone away, put it in the pocket, that's not how you do this business. It was dark, it was cold, a lot of emotions, grandmother's in the hospital. And when you have a situation like this, you do not go in so aggressively. And that's all I have to say.
I really wish you would be able to share that video with us so that we can look into this further.
Sir, if
into
you
more
haven't,
detail.
I would ask again that you please touch base with the police chief.
It's irrelevant. It's
Well,
irrelevant at this
You're,
time.
you're making some allegations. They have an obligation to investigate.
Not an allegation. I'm not here, again, let me reiterate, I'm not here to allege anything, blame anyone, point a finger at anyone, just saying that you do not go into a situation like this at a 14-year-old. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, the burglar alarm did go off. The officers are responding to a.
Absolutely. Again, they were doing
right?
their job. I
No,
110%
it's a tense
agree.
situation. The officers don't know if there's
Mr.
someone
President,
armed
if
in the
if I
house.
can just jump in here, I appreciate you, the folks coming. I'm going to give you my card.
I don't need
I
it.
personally,
I don't need it.
I-
I don't want to do anything about this. I just want you all to know that I now understand the situation that occurred at the mall, how it all went down.
That's not fair at all.
That's not-
That's absolutely
Why
unfair.
not? Why isn't it fair?
Can't make that
Because,
statement,
because you're dealing with different officers, different
You've
circumstances.
seen the video of the mall.
I don't
Sir,
see, show me the video.
Sir,
The
sir,
mall.
sir. All right, we have a 2-minute limit. I'm trying to be respectful.
Okay.
The police chief is here. He would like to talk to you. He's coming behind you.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned to your son, I was not, none of us were here. No one on this dais is qualified to do an investigation. That investigation should be done by the police department. You have publicly come forward, stated your concerns. They're going to follow up with you. None of us here on this dais, nor you, have seen the videos of what transpired at the mall. You may have seen 1 or 2 videos, okay? We don't know. It's sealed. We're not even allowed to see that, let alone the public. But I understand your concerns, and I'm going to ask you that to defer further conversation to the police chief.
Bridgewater Township takes every incident seriously. The chief is standing right behind you now, and regardless of what you may or may not have intended by your public comment tonight, the department will be looking at this matter.
Sure.
So-
And I'll say right now, on the record, I am not going to file anything for obvious reasons. And that's it.
You made some very, very
Thank you.
serious accusations, and I think that
Not an
I
accusation.
think that this
It's-
township will be looking.
What's the
looking into
definition
this
of an
matter
accusation?
Further. Well, you've made some serious accusations in my mind. and
What accusation?
So when you accuse the police department of being racist, to me, that's a very serious accusation that
14-year-old said that.
whatever. But
Yeah, whatever.
accusation's been made, and I believe
you.
the
I just
township
wanted
will be
to-
looking further into it.
Thank you.
State
I'm
that
sure the
for
chief
record.
will speak to you further.
Thank you.
I want to put on the record that since he has made this allegation, it's automatically going to be an internal affairs investigation. We'll review the body worn cameras. Even if he doesn't want to proceed with it, I will proceed with it, investigate it. So
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, chief.
And I'm sorry, Chief, before walking away, apparently there is additional evidence that may be available, I guess, on a neighbor's video or somebody's telephone or something that was described. I heard that comment, I presume that you did too, that in addition to any footage that your officers may have captured, it seems as though there may be relevant additional footage available as part of this investigation.
Councilman Kirsch, Chief Mitzak has our full confidence to take a look at this and report back to the council. I recommend no further discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak?
Move to close public input.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, public comment is closed. Moving forward, we have no introductions of ordinances, so we will move to resolutions. Resolution 12A, to cancel capital appropriation balances for completed projects in the amount of $3,947.
Mr. Pandos is doing, I think, a great job in trying to clean certain things up. This speaks for itself. These are ordinances that have been the intended purchase of a product or a contractor has been completed, and these monies that are left over and would be considered unanticipated revenue.
It's what I have in my hand. Yeah, yes, in this particular version of the packet, there's a mistake there. I think it was correct. Yep. Here's,
What I see here, you have the same resolution for 12A and 12B, and you don't...
there, so, yeah, I have a copy of it. I've just passed to Mr. Councilman Norgalis.
12B is actually the cancellation of checks, and
Yep.
12A is the cancellation of the capital balances. I think the...
You good with that, Mr. Norgalis? Okay. So do we have a motion on 12A to cancel appropriation balances for completed projects in the amount of $39.47?
Move 12A.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
President Ring.
Yes. And now, 12B, which is a resolution authorizing the cancellation of outstanding checks in the amount of $138,626.21.
These are checks that, as you can see from the attached list, that have never been cashed.
Some of which are over 5 years old.
Use it or lose it.
And it was very interesting looking at this list. I think the smallest one was like 10 cents from 2022 to, I think the largest was like $25,000. Quite a spread.
Last time this was done, I think, was 2019, and Mr. Pandos, as he's acquainting himself with all of our records, discovered this. So, Mr. Pandos, thank you for this work.
I'd make a motion to move 12B.
I just have one comment. I'll second that, but I have one comment. I spoke to our auditor, Mr. Swisher, about this, because generally the state comes in and attempts to escheat any outstanding unpaid check, but I understand that that is not followed for municipal organizations, so it is perfectly appropriate
Okay.
to do this. So I'll second 12B.
Roll call. I'm sorry, did you have a comment, Mr. Councilman Pedroso?
Question. Any of these checks were to residents?
Bill?
You know-
Bill,
do you know?
Yeah.
Do those funds have to go to the state trust fund if there is money?
That's what Councilman Norgalis just said, they do not.
That's the normal process, but evidently that's not what is being done with this. It's not going into trust, it's rolling over.
And these checks come from everything from the general fund to sewer operating, sewer capital, regular trust, COA, rec, police.
I think the state would have the right to come back under canon to seize this, and then post it as uncollectible fund, as, you know, outstanding funds, but supposedly that's what all municipalities do, so.
The auditor says it's appropriate, what we're doing.
Okay.
All right. Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
I guess hearing that the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed, I'll vote yes.
President Ring.
Yes. 12C, authorizing Sarah Hussman, qualified purchasing agent of Bridgewater Township, to waive the requirement for claimant's certification for a purchase order below 15% of the bid threshold pursuant to NJSA 40A:5-16C3.
Mr. Pandos, do you have any technical knowledge of this since you're here on this?
Let's go.
Increasing the amount of, we'll usually do 15% of the bid threshold, and we waive the requirement for the vendor to sign off on the purchase order. What happens every 5 years on the year ending in a 0 and a 5 is the state changes the bid threshold, increases the bid threshold. So technically, this resolution should have been done in 2020. It was done, the last time it was done was in 2018. So 15% of the bid threshold in 2018, 19, and 20 was $6,000. Bid threshold went up to $44,000 in 2020, so 15% of the bid threshold is now $6,600. So that's what we're looking to do, is to change it to $6,600 and waive the requirement of the vendor to sign off on the purchase order. What it does is it speeds up the process of payment, not having to send out the purchase order to the vendor, have them sign it, wait for it to come back in, and then be able to process the purchase order. So like I said, this is something that was supposed to have been done in 2020, because we're going to be doing it again next year in 2025.
It sounds like if the last time we did it was 2018, we're off on a few cycles, not.
Correct. So what will happen in March of 2020, the state will come out with the new threshold, and it'll go into effect June, July timeframe. So we'll be doing this again in about a year and a half. And the other reason we're doing the ordinance was to get Ms. Witt
Resolution.
and to change it to Sarah Hausman.
Okay.
So that's
It's a resolution, not an ordinance.
correct. Correct, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have none, but I'll make a motion to move 12C.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Roll call?
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cordella,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso,
Yes.
President Ring.
Yes. All right. 12D, authorizing release of the performance guarantee in the amount of $19,490.94 posted in cash and acceptance of the site improvements for Parwal Dubrala of PDD Construction LLC, Block 642, Lot 5, 5.01 and 5.02, also known as 690 Foothill Road.
This is a performance guarantee release, and this is for a two-lot subdivision that was approved by the planning board.
Move 12D.
I'll second it.
We have a motion.
A clarifying question, is this the one with the very historic house on it?
Yes.
All right. I recall the case from when I was on planning board.
It's still been around, but, bless you.
Wow.
We heard it twice.
When I say very historic, I mean it has roots that are rather old.
It's being preserved.
Okay.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cordella,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso,
Yes.
President Ring.
Yes. Do I understand from the administration we're going to pull 12E at this time? Yes. Okay. 12F, authorizing an additional $90,007.19 to Benecard Services LLC of New Jersey to provide prescription insurance to the Township of Bridgewater for a total premium amount of $2,040,607.19 for the calendar year 2023.
As you can see from the attached memo from Christine Madrid, this is due to fluctuation of those number of people that are covered in any given calendar year. This accounts for the slight increase in those that are covered.
In any given year, we have people come, people go. We finish the year slightly higher than we started.
For the hearing of the folks who were listening in, we went from 319 to 333 people for a net add of 14.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion to move 12F.
So this
I'll
is
second the
because-
motion.
because of
Adjustments in
adjustments to
The number of
employee
people.
number of
Population.
people that worked.
Correct. All right, I heard a motion. Did I hear a second?
I'll make that second.
Okay.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cordella,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso,
Yes.
President Ring.
Yes. 12G, confirming and endorsing coverage and membership terms of the New Jersey Intergovernmental Insurance Fund, NJIIF, and authorizing the execution of the NJIIF's indemnity and trust agreement.
Yes, would you?
So, as the council recalls, we executed a document authorizing membership in this new JIF, the New Jersey Intergovernmental Insurance Fund JIF. The paperwork that followed after was obviously paperwork we did not have contemporaneous to that resolution, and was not referenced in the resolution. Under the law, we have to pass a resolution authorizing the execution of those documents. which was not done originally for the very good reason that we didn't have them. We negotiated up to the deadline to get the best deal for the township, as we always do. So just some documents that will smooth that transition. Any questions, I'm always happy to answer.
Any questions on this?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion on 12G.
I'll second a motion.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
President Ring?
Yes. All right. 12H, adopting a prototypical service agreement with Empower Retirement LLC to continue the deferred compensation plan and service agreement formerly provided by Empower Annuity Insurance Company of America at no cost to the township.
The prototypical service agreement.
That's their language. I think it's just fluff. We kept it, but that's their language. I mean, the word doesn't have a lot of meaning in that context, but one tries to work with the one's vendors, so I left it. You're a prototypical guy, Councilman.
Thank you, I guess, because I know what the word means.
Any other comments on 12H?
I'll move 12H.
Have a motion? Do we have a second?
Just one question. I don't see reference to legal review of this. Has this?
Not only we reviewed it, but we took some time with
Okay,
it.
got it.
Not enough time to change the word prototypical, which Administrator Pappas did also reference, but the document and the instrument has been reviewed by us and approved.
We have a second?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
President Ring?
Yes. 12I, resolution appointing Wells Manager Christine Madrid as Bridgewater's representatives to the Middlebrook Health Commission for a period commencing January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. Pretty straightforward. Any questions?
We didn't have a copy of the actual agreement when we did this for the reorg. I just want to get a copy of the agreement. Sure. Please.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? I'll second 12I.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Sure.
President Ring?
Yes. And with 12J, as a longtime member of the Elks, I'm going to recuse myself and ask Council Vice President Norgalis to handle this.
Reading 12J as follows. Request for waiver of an open flame fire permit fee in the amount of $60 and a special event permit fee in the amount of $100 for the Somerville Elks, 375 Union Avenue, Bridgewater, New Jersey, 08807 for Jack's Kids Tailgate Fundraiser Event on Saturday, January 13th, 2024. The Somerville Elks, a fine organization, has its 501c3. Are there any questions from the council on this?
No, but I'd make a motion to move 12J.
We have a motion. I will second it. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Vice President Nogales?
Yes. Councilman Nogales voted for me, so I'll vote for him.
Yes.
Are we good on that one?
We're good.
Okay.
We will now return to our regular programming.
All right, Tim, as we move on 12K, I need to recuse myself.
Okay.
I'll leave the room.
Little musical chairs tonight.
Yes.
All right, so 12K, resolution acknowledging Township Council's review of salaries for the Board of Fire Commissioners of Fire District Number 1, Number 2, Number 3, and Number 4 for the year 2024. For any members of the public listening, the Board of Fire Commissioners is a separate government entity elected by the residents of Bridgewater every February. And those boards set salaries that are set through their budget process. There is a law somewhere in the books within, I guess, DCA or somebody that requires the governing body at the municipality level to review those salaries. And I emphasize the words review. We do not approve, we simply review the salaries. And this resolution is to acknowledge that we have reviewed the salaries for the 4 governing bodies of the fire districts within Bridgewater.
This comes from their tax, correct?
Comes out, their salary, the salary comes out of the fire district tax,
Or district tax, right?
which is a separate tax that is not revenue to the township of Bridgewater. Their budgets are voted on annually by the residents of the township every February. I believe it's the 3rd Saturday in February. They have an election where they vote their fire commissioners as well as approval of their budgets. And for whatever reason, even though they're separate government entities, we're required to review their salaries.
Anybody happen to know why Martinsville fire commissioners make so much more than?
I could not answer that.
Commissioners.
Yes.
You know, Howard? Because you were involved for a long time with this.
See? Yeah.
You've reviewed it because you've asked a question.
That, I believe, is the same amount that they had listed last year, $5,000. By the way, each of these fire commissions, somebody's supposed to prepare a W-2 so that there is a tax recognition of this amount. That was our requirement from the last time we talked about that. I have no idea whether that is actually done. But this is income, so it is taxable.
So basically, this document is available for the public. It's Resolution 12K. They're welcome to go on our website and review the salary of their fire commissioners. And the public is certainly, if they're unhappy with this, they can take it up to the fire commissioners, and they can also vote them in or vote them out.
Correct.
So all we're doing is reviewing that this came before us.
And to go one step further on that, each of the fire districts passed a resolution setting these salaries, and as a government agency, the resolutions of the fire districts are all public record as well. Their meetings are open to the public. Do we have a motion on 12K?
I'll move 12K.
I'll second it.
Okay. Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
President Ring?
Yes.
I just got an email. The Bridgewater Raritan school system will be closed tomorrow.
Sorry.
Council President, we need to amend the agenda for the executive session. As you're aware, contract negotiations associated with the item that was tabled is already on the agenda in the resolution for executive. We need to add litigation, and we need to add public safety. So whoever moves the resolution should move it as amended.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session as amended.
Okay, so we will have a closed session. This you gave me for this, correct? Okay, so be it resolved, Bridgewater Township Council, by the Bridgewater Township Council, that this body will now hold a closed meeting to discuss contract negotiations, litigation, and public safety. When and if the matters discussed become public record, this will be made known to the public at that time. The public is excluded from said meeting, and further notice, therefore, is disposed with all in accordance of Section 8 and 4A of the Open Publics Meeting Act. Do we have a motion?
I made the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
I'm going to. Roll call?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales? Yes. Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
President Ring?
Yes, and before we proceed further for the public, there is the potential that the council may take action after the closed session. I cannot say for sure whether or not we will, but I do want to let the public know that are watching that we may take action.